a more conservative, a slower team, whereas Tiger Wong is just really ferocious. They want to pounce fast, end the game decisively. We'll find out. ALVA 8 on that blue side, Tiger Wong Esports on red.
Now, I'm curious to see what the first phase draft is going to be as well. Joy not really touched in towards the entirety of the patch. Fanny also being buffed up as well is something that maybe ALVA might consider respecting. I don't think we've seen too much of Gugun playing it. We've seen one game, but it's not that really that flashy. And at that game as well, I remembered that Gugun wasn't exactly allowed to snowball pretty hard just because of how the opponent's draft was a little bit more counterintuitive in towards his playstyle. But as of yet, in terms of heroes here, 1-1 going to be a similar ban throughout the weeks as well. Even though there has been nerfs buffs here, but it makes a little bit more sense considering that 1-1 wasn't really touched, Carry was nerfed, Moscow was nerfed. I kind of want to see maybe a potential Kimi. I haven't seen a Kimi for a very, very long time, just because of the fact that there are teams that play Kimi, potentially Mage, potentially Jungle, potentially Marksman, super underrated hero, but easily countered if Kimi gets jumped on.
Yeah, and there are a lot of heroes that can do that in this current patch. It makes it really unfavorable. I do like the idea. I do want to entertain it, but it's again, right, you say there's a lot of factors. I love the ban from Tiger Wong. They take out the Joy, which was a hero that was picked 2 times yesterday in ALVA A series, and Joy was running rampant. There was no way to stop her. Even with a Franco on the enemy team, you can't really just burst down with Joy. She just takes vengeance, and she survives a lot of these encounters. ALVA 8, going back to the Faramis ban, which was something that has been patterned yesterday. Faramis was picked, I believe, in one game, but that game didn't result in a win, right? It wasn't the direct answer to a Joy anyways. But ALVA 8, they really loved the Faramis ban.
I'm not really a big fan of the Faramis.
Oh, me neither.
Just because of the fact that there are some heroes that Faramis kind of counter, right? Indirectly counter. One of it being Glue, obviously going to be taken out from Tiger Wong Esports. Second one would be an indirect way of stopping a Fanny. When a Fanny comes in, guaranteed Shadow Stampede, and then guaranteed, if you time it properly, is going to be able to stop Fanny in his tracks momentarily as a setup, which oftentimes not a personal big fan. We've also seen some teams kind of adapt with a Paquito jungle. Every single time a Fanny comes in, you are almost guaranteed going to get a couple punches and possibly knock out a Fanny. But obviously, we didn't see too much about it. We saw, I think, one game last week. Didn't exactly work out too well.
Yeah. Yesterday, Gugun actually went for the Paquito jungle, but that was the game that they lost against Evo Esports. It was an interesting idea, but also they were forced to run a Paquito jungle because they fourth-picked the Jawhead on red side, I believe. So yeah, definitely a bit of a weird situation that they put themselves in. ALVA is sticking with the Kaja ban. This was the hero pool that they all have been taking out since yesterday, so I'm not surprised. But the Fredrin, I think Tiger Wong might let that through.
Yeah, I think, Fredrin is something they can consider, but I feel like you brought up Jawhead. This is something that we didn't see too much. Personally, I feel like this hero itself is a very cheese pick as a roamer. If you go for a roamer, go for high and dry, you can solo kill people with level 1, level 2 on its own. Jungle Jawhead is extremely quick as well, super underrated, but it kind of scales off after level 8. And I think that's something that not many teams are willing to take the risk. Jawhead is just great for early snowball, but so far, we haven't seen too many teams go for it. Tiger Wong, they ban off the Moskov. This is something that Aaron Shiki is comfortable with.
I love
but this opens up the Valentina for ALVA 8. Tiger Wong now having an opportunity to go for both the Fredrin as well as potentially Eve, maybe even Lunox if they want to.
I actually like this Valentina
Edith,
first pick. And the Edith, right? It slips through. Yesterday, not much Edith ban, but the teams don't really play Edith, right? Not even Tiger Wong. But I do like the Valentina first pick. I think moving away from first picking Fredrin on blue side is not too bad of an idea. At this point, I think Fredrin, to a certain extent, is a minor bait pick, right? You take Fredrin first phase, and the enemy team just picks heroes that stops you from ever moving in a team fight. And if you can get the Apristos wave off, you're not as tanky as you think you are. But Tiger Wong's Edith Fredrin opening is going to solve a bit of that problem.
Yeah, I really like for the fact that Edith is super underrated now. I think we had a couple of games where the Edith was just popping on in terms of damage. Feather, this item is very, very underrated. We often see it on Zaz players, but most of the mages don't really go for Feather. Edith is one of those situations where you can pick it up just because of how the damage output is magical from passive as well as ultimate. ALVA 8 going for Martis as well. Grog, 2 great ways of just shutting down both the Edith as well as a Fredrin for a setup. But personally, I still think it's a little bit difficult to pull off, considering that Tiger Wong, well, okay, I take it back. I take it back now. I think ALVA 8 has got better tools now just because of this Farsa pick, because you've got heroes that just benefits from this Farsa's positioning, right? Predator Extra comes in, Grok goes in for a cancel, Martis can interrupt it as well, Valentina gets a free out. I'm a little bit worried from Tiger Wong Esports after they picked up this Farsa.
If I remember correctly, Tiger Wong Esports actually played a Harif also. It's either them or Evo, but Harif was picked, so that actually crossed my mind. But this has been a very standard response. You see a Fredrin, Martis, easy response. He can't stop you, can't knock you up, you cancel, you displace him if he uses his ult. It's just, you know, a skill that ignores crowd control is very annoying. There it is, the Harif ban comes out. Loving this ban from Tiger Wong. If Harif goes through, I honestly think it is going to be a big problem, because you can still put him in the gold lane and there's essentially no one that can catch him. Whereas for ALVA 8, you remove heroes that can essentially lock you down. I mean, you take the Franco away, now Martis is free to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I guess the Harif is something that I think based on their performance and their playstyles as well, they may consider bringing it on the table. Tiger Wong does have very, very big issues in dealing with mobility characters as well. Ling is something that they would definitely struggle, considering that they have heroes that just don't have strong catch potential. At the same time, right now, I feel like Tiger Wong is in a little bit of a tough spot to deal with all the heroes from ALVA 8, right? Like, personally, I like the idea that drafts are very meta-ish, sort of, but I still think the biggest problem right now is that if ALVA 8 decides to bring a carry, the Brody and Edith is not going to have an easy time. But as soon as I say this, they pick up the Brody, pretty strong as well. Fanny completely ignored Tron the entire path, so maybe they're setting up for a Fanny final pick from Tiger Wong Esports, expecting the ALVA 8 not picking up the Kufra, which is very possible as well. They can still play a Grok gold lane, but
Grok XP, right? We've seen Grok XP.
Grok XP is pretty good as well.
Grok XP, full damage, BOD second item, and he just one-shots you. Though I think that this might set up for claw angle, right? It is a hero that Aaron Shiki does play, and you know, fair enough that Tiger Wong Esports don't really have a way to catch the Claude, well, effectively catch the Claude in these chaotic team fights. So ALVA 8, I think, have an option to go for the Claude, and for the XP lane, it's the Lapu Lapu, there's the Yuzhong. Wow, they completely throw that out the window. They put the Ruby in, they bring up the Lunox. Lunox go lane, and I think it's an XP Grok.
Okay, this is a little bit different now. Okay, I get the Ruby is okay as a safety net. It works both ways, right? If you go for Kufra, it pretty much hard blocks and says, hey, I'm facing up Fanny. But if you pick up Ruby, it still has a mixed hybrid of catch potential. Maybe even if they decide to go for Fanny, Ruby can somewhat do something to a certain degree. So I like that they're adapting, but I'm not liking that this is a gold lane Lunox, because over time, eventually, if they don't close out the game as quickly as well, Tiger Wong is going to make a very, very strong argument towards the later stage of the game. In this case, the final pick is going to be the jungler, or in this case, they can stick with the Fredrin jungle, like you said as well, XP Edith, maybe even Roamer.
Okay.
But no, they go for the Matilda, so they are going to be sticking with the Fredrin jungle, XP Edith, instead of Roam Edith.
Yeah, there's just not much teams that run the XP Fredrin, right? I guess just because Fredrin deals extra damage to jungle monsters and you put that jungle emblem, it just clears camp so fast. I do agree on the Lunox point. I think ALVA 8 needs to close the games out quick, and before Tiger Wong goes into that late game that's post 15 minutes. But I do adore the Ruby pick. It's one of those very common answers alongside the Martis to really make Fredrin's life incredibly complicated in these team fights. Now, but I think the Matilda has a big responsibility to really let Gugun do his job in these team fights.
Well, this is going to be a very difficult game, because if you see about it, ALVA 8's draft, almost everyone deals with this Farsa, whereas Tiger Wong Esports, they've got a draft where they have a very, very strong late game. My predictions on them, your predictions on ALVA 8. So far, it all comes down to execution. Drafts has pretty much been set here, and both teams are going to duke it out for game number 1. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoy the show, because we are jumping straight into game 1, and this is going to be up on screen.
Honestly, my friend, I feel like our prediction so far has been very one-sided since the start of the Open Finals. This might be the most even one that we've had. You know, it's one of those that you can pop off if your team wins, but I wouldn't be sad because, you know, it's just a series that I genuinely enjoy. And I'm very excited to see how these two Indonesian squads square off. Tiger Wong definitely have a bit of that pride on the line. This is a very prideful team. And ALVA 8, they're just happy to be in top 4.
Well, hopefully it is going to be as it seems here, because as of yet, we can see a little bit of aggression coming in from Rexy on the top side. He's gone for tenacity as a tank emblem instead of the Brave here, but at the same time, you see a little bit of aggression here. Winspo is going to get caught up. They are going to try and make a jump on it. They force the flicker in, and Winspo might actually die to this as well. He tried to go for the passive. He crosses it, and he somehow survives, but Rins at the last take will get the kill across. So Tiger Wong will have a very, very early lead from this get-go.
I feel like Eliora was very certain that Winspo is going to go down, didn't bother trying to provide a bit of backup, but could have been slightly different for ALVA 8 in terms of the outcome. But we see that Matilda really coming through early on, just making sure that this Fredrin can constantly stick onto a target that is not as mobile as this Ruby in this early stage, not as beefy as well. Now they're going to make a move to that XP lane. Rexley and Reigns, they're going to try and gang up together onto Jirachi, forcing the flicker out. They won't have damage to take him down, but they did force him away.
I genuinely feel bad for Rexy. Rexy tried to go in for the pull setup, but because Grok was able to have his capabilities, he's going to get out. But at the same time, they force another flicker rotation up on top as well. So the mid lane is not having a good time. Rexy does have the protection from Rins. Tiger Wong completely dominating turtle control on top of it all. ALVA 8, absolutely nothing they can do. They give Dada Dududu a little bit of some XP down mid. That means they will secure the turtle for themselves.
Good news is Aaron Shiki did force the flicker out from Saffril.
Bottom lane.
I think he did receive a bit of help from Zian, but oh, the stun! Oh, Saffril backflip onto that. Gets decimated, but the trade was good. That's all that they need, and Dadi Durido might even get Zian. He's gonna try and dive the turret. Why did you do that, my friend? Never ever dive a monsters like that. Can Riz at least get it? Yes, he does! The Indonesian sniper from Tiger Wong does it.
Okay, Rins, what a snipe. However, he's gonna get caught out right now. They're calling it Laura. Can he survive this? Taking a little bit too much damage. Selfray is here to say hello, and immediately ALVA 8 is gonna back out. He's gonna die a second time despite Aaron Shiki's blunder. Fortunately for ALVA 8, they were able to salvage that blunder down bottom, but hopefully it does not hurt Tiger Wong enough. But at the same time, the economy is still 50-50 for both sides as of yet.
Saffril had a chance to backtrack, but he decides to take that long route. It's definitely a bit of a weird choice, but him dying 2 times in a row is going to hurt that progression a little bit. ALVA 8 very, very happy with the punish that they had. You can see this dive in this replay. Obviously, Saffril, massive outplay, gets decimated. Gets a 1-1 trade, but Dali Durido was just a bit too ambitious. Thought he could somehow get a finisher against the Martyrs, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little bit difficult as well. He was expecting maybe Rins is going to provide in time, but great salvage coming from Rins for actually challenging that fight. And eventually the fight kind of dropped out a little bit awkwardly. But you can see there's a lot of desperation coming from ALVA 8. They know for a fact that their time is against their essence. They've got to find opportunities like this once and over and every single game. You cannot afford to have Tiger Wong in the lead. And currently the economy is favoring Tiger Wong because there is just so much pressure taken away from the top side. And Rexy right now is having the time of his life right now on top side.
Oh yeah. And while we were looking at that replay, Aaron Shiki went down a second time. So Tiger Wong Esports sets up for a turtle, no chance of contest. Vinsmoke sees this, but the jungler is not that I mean, the Martyrs doesn't want to contest at all, and now they will end up losing Vinsmoke once more. You gotta really keep your distance when there's a Matilda. You cannot walk up like that.
Yeah, that's a little bit greedy and ambitious coming from ALVA 8, considering that they are sending them to actually punish the top side. Aaron Shiki, however, doesn't have the brilliance. He's not in Roy moment, but the taunt will be enough to shut him down, and they have no choice but to trade up top side. Rexy now going to be forcing us out, going for the fight. He's all by himself. He's 1v2, but he is at the eat of his going to little bit of tank. But Zion doing so much to actually annoy the heck out of him, but eventually he will die, and Zion gets the decimate across. So fortunately for them, they are going to be a-okay, but Tiger Wong getting full map present control down bottom now. Hopefully get a little bit more down middle. Zion forced to join in the fight, but the decimation is on cooldown for now. They're going for the pull. Vinsmoke not connecting the dot. Federation comes in, but no one to interrupt him. Jirachi forced to back out and save his teammate, and they do get a trade off, but the bigger picture is the trades are not favoring them at all.
Both Romans go down, and now stolen feather airstrike from Eliora. Riz trying to cancel it, does force it to end prematurely, but at the end of the day, I think the consolation prize for ALVA 8 is that you take out the EDIF, you get that top tier 1, at least you trade something in return. So they are still at a deficit, but it's kind of the best case scenario out of what has transpired in the past 2 minutes for ALVA 8.
We are going to be seeing a little bit of lane swap coming from Tiger Wong Esports. Immediately sending up Safri up top to try and trade for Grog, but here comes the fan air trying to force the wall charge in, not connecting on the far side means there's going to be a lot of damage coming in as well, but Dada Durity is in the vicinity to try and threaten this as well. It's a little bit risky, but it seems like Safri really wants a tier 1, but he gets pulled up. Here comes the combo as well. The gliding wheel will get him out of safety and he's going to be fine, but the rest of the team coming from Tiger Wong Esports immediately hear the response. Zion shows his face and immediately say, goodbye, Tiger Walk. So Tiger Walk, they will be able to get out safely, knowing that they have no reason to challenge this at all. Time is in their favor. In this case, ALVA 8 is getting a little bit desperate now.
Yeah, they definitely are. Arashiki is not having a good game at all. Vinsmo couldn't make the plays that he wanted to, even though this pick was meant to really annoy Tiger Wong Esports, but they were not given a chance to play a full-out team fight. And now Vinsmo again forced away the torn apart memory, just not enough to take him down. But you have this Matilda just taking control of your jungle. It's a big problem if you're ALVA 8.
Yeah, this is very, very difficult. They need to find a way to actually pick him off. And currently, Aaron Shiki not having the lead that he needs, because in terms of itemization as well, he's got a Clock of Destiny, pretty late game oriented as well. He's got a hooded as well, so he's looking for the glowing wand purchase instead of a Trunkian. So that's something a little bit more concerning. Maybe a little bit different as well. Maybe potentially a genius one, which is something that is very favorable to kind of scale with the Valentina. But the question remains is, can they do so? Because if you pay attention to items as well, Tiger Wong Esports, they've got 2 Radiant Armor purchase right up for a get-go for both Rexley as well as Guggen. So that means a majority of Ludong's damage has been completely negated in the middle stage of the game.
They even had a decent start, right? It all began with that one dive in that bottom tier 1, and now ALVA 8 finally finding an opportunity to stick together as a full squad, but they are not given a chance to take a fight. As long as this Matilda, as long as Sadi Duedo can keep them at bay, they are going to stop a team fight from happening. And Guggen, he can face check this. He is a Fredrin, and you have support from Rins in the backline as well. Safril is in the corner. No one knows where he is. ALVA 8, you have to be really careful in this position, because this Matilda, he's going to start walking up. And while that was happening, bottom tier 2 taken by Rexy.
Really smart coming from Tiger Wong Esports. They know for a fact that they cannot force the fight. All they got to do is just get them checked in bay, and because of that, they lose a tier down bottom. And ALVA 8, they're now finally going to get pressured once again. Gugu going to go and force a fight. Gets a 2-man taunt. That's huge, but Rins, does he want to try and force the fight? Because as of yet, ALVA 8, they want to make the jump on this Farsa. And it seems like they don't want to take the risk yet. They're trying to find the right moment to strike as well, but taking a lot of 2 damage. They're going for the Feather Ash right from behind. Rexy comes in, the taunt as well. Going to try and keep them at bay, but the tier 1 is there to say, hey, you cannot fight this. Tiger Wong says they're low. Let's try and bait them out even more by forcing the Lord.
I don't think ALVA 8 can even contest the Lord, not with Rexy actually seeing where Zion is, and it's too late. The Lord is already down. Zion can't even get a chance to get close to the Lord. Now he gets knocked out. Cannot use the Ashura. Tries to dash to safety, but doesn't work out. Rexy now in the front lines with Matilda to get a 2-man wall charge. Stolen Feather Airstrike comes out, but the damage isn't there. Now Rinse responds in kind. Tiger Wong Esports walks away with a kill and a Lord.
Oh my goodness, I genuinely feel bad for Eliora. He's gotten so many steals with the Feather Airstrike, but because of the Radiant Armor up on Edith as well as the Fredrin, he's just barely doing damage as well. But pay attention to Valentina's items. He's got the Clock of Destiny as well as a Lightning Trunk, and despite that, the burst barely tickling down, and this is very, very concerning, because eventually they have to solely depend on Jirachi landing those big wall charges, and I don't think that's reliable damage at all.
Yeah, and I just love how Tiger Wong Esports recognizes that ALVA 8 has a comp that wants to fight as 5. We don't let them fight as 5. We split them apart, and we just take control of the map. And ALVA 8, they were looking for these kind of fights, and maybe they found it, and yes they do. They shut down the Farsa. Guggen cannot proceed, but Tiger Wong Esports have gotten so much pressure around the map. Maybe it won't matter though. Guggen getting the ultimate off. Zion comes in with a good snip, but unfortunately no follow-up from ALVA 8.
Oh, Rexley gonna get caught out. He's taking a little bit of damage, but this is Edith coming in as well. The Matilda sustains is gonna keep them alive. Safri forced the flicker out. He does a decent amount of damage, but it forces a lot of ultimates coming from ALVA 8. And as you can see, damage output-wise, Tiger Wong is not lacking. And we talked about late game potential. They are finally reaching a stage where Safri is gonna be a big threat for ALVA 8. Eventually, they have to make two choices. Do they focus on Safril or do they focus on Rins? And either or, it's still going to be an uphill battle coming for ALVA 8.
The fact that this game is at this state right now means that if ALVA 8 even wants to have a chance to kind of cut through those resistance, you're looking at items like, you know, the Divine Glaive. We saw the Genius one purchased by Aaron Shiki, but I don't think that alone is enough. You need a bit more magic penetration, which means Divine Glaive has to be a consideration for Eliora down the road. They see Guggen, but this Fredrin has been doing way more than he should have against a draft like ALVA 8.
What? Winter Trunket purchase coming from Dada D-Doo-Doo? Rather early as a Matilda. It seems like they're not that worried about the damage output. They are just going to play the kind of game. And speaking of the Divine Glaive, you talked about it, Aaron Shiki getting it right from the get-go. That is a lot of damage from the Lunox to try and penetrate through the tanks of Tiger Wong Esports. But still, is it gonna be enough? Is it gonna be enough? That's gonna be my question, because as of yet, now, here comes the engagement. They do find Rexy. They are gonna try and force the issue.
Yeah, they're gonna try and get rid of Guggen as well. Aaron Shiki forced to flicker away. Now Feather Airstrike completely splitting the battle line. And look at Daddy Dorado! Oh, he runs straight into Vinsmoke, knocks him back. Vinsmoke able to dash to safety. Daddy Dorado getting terrified, forced backwards. No follow-up from Tiger Wong. ALVA 8 escapes.
Oh, smart play coming from ALVA 8. They were able to disengage, but Lord Control is in their favor. They managed to bait out multiple ultimates in this engagement, but is it gonna be enough? Zion is still there. He's got the decimation. He needs to start a fight somehow, but everyone from Tiger Wong is just ignoring him. But it seems like the taunt comes in. They're waiting for the Lord Storm. Lord is still relatively healthy, but look from behind! The wall charge catches on the Matilda. They caught Safril, but there's no follow-up. The rest of his team gets completely disrupted by Guggen, and now Guggen with the Appraiser's drop and taunt. He gets in, he gets to, he gets out. Double kill from Safril to go in for the ramp up, and now Winsmoke, last man standing. Absolutely nothing he can do. And Tiger Wong says, screw the Lord, we're taking the throne. We're gonna focus on Ancient. We're gonna close out game one, and it's gonna be GG well play for Tiger Wong Esports.
Huge desynchronization towards the end. Jirachi found the play, but his team didn't find him. They were all zoned out by one pesky Fredrin, who shouldn't even be a problem in the first place, at least on paper, but could have been so much different, just did not work out. Tiger Wong Esports, dominant game number one.